Aquaman, Arthur Curry, the son of a lighthouse keeper. He discovered in his youth that he possessed various superhuman abilities, including the power to survive underwater, communication with sea life, and tremendous swimming powers. He used his talents to become the defender of the Earth's oceans, and later, the king of the seven seas. He's Aquaman, and he was our MVP in our last Avengers vs. JLA episode, and you'll find him in tonight's show as well. You know how shocked I still am that Aquaman was our MVP already? This is only episode 3 and Aquaman has already been the MVP. I thought, well, the poor guy's going to be lucky if he gets it at all in this season.
Right. You're also way better at those intros. I got to get better at those intros. I got to work on you crushed that. That was fantastic.
Well, thank you. So welcome, fresh from San Diego Comic-Con with that SDCC smell still on him. It's John's
I'm wafting across the internets to everybody.
How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
Hey, tell us really quick, because is this your first live stream since SDCC?
It is, yeah.
How was it in a nutshell? Give me a 60-second rundown of it.
I'm in a nutshell. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. I told you the highlight for me was a couple of creators who really went out of their way to make me feel like not only they remembered me from other cons and online chats we've had, but really like figuratively, literally embraced me and made me feel like, wow, this is not just like, oh, I love your work. It's more like, oh, thank you for buying these things. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for, it felt very connective. And that was amazing. So shout out to two great Davids. You got David Boer and you've got David Nakayama that really went just spotted me, called me over, said my name, knew me, and gave me hugs and just were really amazing guys.
I think that you need to get a special con shirt made, and on the front of the shirt it says that Storm guy, and then on the back of the shirt it says more than just that Storm guy.
I mean, I'm down. I've already got my T public spring whatever up. I can add this. You're giving me ideas of where this can go.
Yeah. And not to say that I'm jealous, even though I am incredibly jealous. You did get a chance to hang out this past weekend with someone on the current Wonder Woman creative team.
I did, and he was very, very delightful and very funny and nice, and
that's awesome.
Plus, I know we're both very big fans of the voice actress for Storm.
Yeah,
and I got to meet her, and she was wonderful too.
Does she sound like Storm in everyday conversation? Because Lenore Zahn, who does Rogue, she sounds like Rogue just in her normal conversations. But does Allison sound like Storm?
Obviously,
when she's Allison.
She's got an accent that she puts on for Storm.
Sure.
So in that way, it's not as obvious as it is with Lenore. But it's definitely there. The weight, her voice has weight, like gravity, it has a gravity to it that I think is really impressive. And that's what I've always liked about her work on X-Men 97 and animated.
Yeah.
So I think when she just naturally speaks, she has this wonderful gravity to her voice.
Great.
What's up, Binja in the chat?
Yeah, I'm going to go through the chat in just a moment. Sorry. I was just going to say that I'm sure you're going to be talking more about SDCC in more details later on. But since this was your first appearance since, I had to get an exclusive.
For sure, man. Guaranteed.
Yeah, the roll call tonight starts out appropriately with John's Comics with Kids, White Wrench. And then it's so great to see Rod here. Rod, repping the hat in the logo. It's awesome to have you here. Our good friend, White Tiger Cool, Calm Collected. Muabunga to you.
Ruben Guzman.
Yes. We got Inja here. Inja Binja.
The best part of Melanin and manga, just don't tell Sheena.
Yeah. Okay, well, watch on the rewind. Enjoy your movie. That's awesome. So Thank you for being the initial roll call in our live stream. If you're watching on the rewind, thank you so much for taking time to join us. Hey, look who just popped in. John Big Daddy Ross.
And you're not late. You're right on time.
You're not, because we're just getting ready to start. And we also have Gore has stopped in to see us as well, so that's pretty awesome. So the last couple episodes, and I don't want to forget about Kenneth Bird. I can tell that the algorithm has started sending out notifications.
Yeah, I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah, I do too. So our last couple episodes, because this is officially episode 3, because we're reviewing issue 3, it's been a bloodbath with Justice League totally dominating Avengers. And we're going to see if that continues tonight with our story. Yeah. Hey, how are you doing?
Esteban.
Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, Esteban. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, this is a competition show, not Ryan versus I. We're going back together, reading. Oh my gosh, my cat. Mama, get down from there. I'm sorry. My cat's climbing the screen.
We have a cat on the screen situation currently in today's JLA versus Avengers.
I was just getting into that. I'm sorry. Not Ryan versus me, but Silver Age comic versus Silver Age comic. We are reading, and for me, some of these issues for the very first time, the original runs of Avengers and Justice League of America, classic Silver Age books, separated by about 3 years, and we're debating them. Issue 1, 2, now issue 3. So we're really trying to decide which is the better book. And we're debating them on 4 criteria. And then you in the chat are voting to decide the champion. Yeah. First up, we're going to do cover. Then we're going to do story. Then we're going to do interior artwork. And we finish with an interesting category called MVP, where we debate in each book who was the most important character. And then we debate which of those 2 wins the award for that night. And after all that discussion, after all that fun talk, you pick the winner in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. It is going to be fun. That's why we're glad that you're here for it.
This guy. There's
I'm
Tony. Trying to be useful, Tony, while my cat wreaks havoc.
It's a havoc cat. It's a mutant.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Cheetah is here. That's what we'll call her.
Oh, the cheetah. Awesome. Okay, so should we get started talking about the covers?
Yes.
So first of all, repping an authentic Justice League of America issue number 3.
Yeah. And the colors look strong on that cover, by the way. You got a great copy.
Thank you. I was pretty happy with this. And I got this issue just a couple years ago. And shortly after I got, maybe about a little over 2 years ago. And shortly after I bought my issue number 1 is when I got this issue 3. Like I got it within like a month or so. Sure. And once I got this issue, that's when I started saying, I think I can put this run together. So, which if you've been watching on my channel is the goal. And I'll have an update on that sometime in the relative.
It took me a lot longer to get to that headspace for Avengers. It really took Steve Whiting ultimately getting me the early issues. And then it was like, okay, now I have to. Like getting an issue 4 felt like now I could do this. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this cover?
It's wonderfully Silver Age. Like it's just goofy. It's got a little like childish kind of sense of humor about it. It's playful. But it's also like a complete head scratcher. Like what is it? It's almost Thor like. You've got like this sort of ship with the like Viking prow to it floating through outer space, and our heroes are like rowing the oars, and there's some strange bad guy with a wand kind of like manipulating them. It's very oddball, but classically Silver Age.
Yeah, exactly. I really like this cover.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And I have been, this is a cover that even since I was a young childhood collector, thinking I would never own this book or even be able to think about completing a run of Justice League Volume 1, which I'm still working on, but getting there. This was a cover that always intrigued me. And this cover really has been used many times throughout the history of the Justice League in flashbacks and stuff too.
Like
if they're doing a montage, you see this image. So, and honestly, compared to the other covers that we've talked about, this was used more in the story, I thought, than some of the other covers. The other covers would be like a panel or two. And this isn't in the story a ton, but it's in the story more than just a panel or two.
Mm-hmm. Like the chessboard scene in the first issue. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, John makes a good point there.
It's so, I mean, he's spot on.
Yeah, you are right.
This would probably predate that movie, I think, because this would have been 1960 still, I think, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're in the early 60s.
And then 63 would have been issue 3 of Avengers. So I will say the starry background lacked a little something for me. It's just a bunch of dots and 1 or 2 stars. Like it doesn't have the dynamic copper, bronze age, atmospheric, outer space thing going. So the focus is nicely kept on the rowing. But it is an odd cover. It's fun though. It is very fun, to your point. And the color work is really what I like most, probably, because nothing overwhelms anything else. The trade dress pops, the earth pops, the boat pops. Each of the characters on the boat has their own element. So the color work for me was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I agree with that. You've heard me say, and I've said it in my videos too, that colorful covers or colorful art I'm really drawn to. Like the bolder the color is, the more I seem to like it. Even if it's not as realistic, Well,
in this one, I mean, obviously the Justice League characters themselves, you get green, orange, red, blue. You get a lot of different variety in color just in their costuming. And that helps when this cover, just kind of everything comes out.
Yeah. Okay. You want to take a look at the Avengers cover now?
And I've been hard on the Avengers covers up to now. I haven't really loved them, but now we're having similar emotional reactions because I really like this cover a lot. For me, a lot of the other, we've talked about how Stan Lee, and maybe it wasn't just Stan's decision, but the writing on the cover, he wants to just overwhelm you with words, right? He wants to wow you with language. This is the most subdued language cover. When we get to issue 5, we go look at some of those, it'll get buck wild. But this is straightforward, right? He's telling you what's in the book. Hulk, Submariner versus the Avengers. This is the book you've been waiting for. Greatest battles of all time. It's very boxing match kind of stuff. I love the locations of the characters. I love the energy coming off this. And we talked color. I think there's a lot of fun color going on here. What were your thoughts on this one? Did you like it as much as me?
This one doesn't grab me as much.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's too similar to issue 1 for me.
Okay. This crushes Avengers 1. I think Avengers 1 is kind of bland. I like the energy of this better. But I get what you're saying.
Is Wasp on the cover?
She's not. This is not a find. So. I even spent time wondering, is she really tiny, buried somewhere? The only appearance of Wasp on this cover is in the corner box.
Is up in the corner box art, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, and I mean, when you have to fit so many characters like that in, that's an issue, Yeah. I mean, and they don't do a bad job, but for some reason, it's just lacking something for me. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if I look at the surroundings and I can't tell where they're at or what type of place they're in or what it is.
The setting, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, where with the Justice League, I know they're in space.
Right, obviously, yeah. And obviously, there's not a lot of information here. We clearly get a brick or rock wall of some kind, maybe underground, but we don't know.
Yeah.
So... chat, let us know. Do you have a favorite of the covers? What were your favorites? I'm definitely I'm picking my book, and it sounds like Ryan's picking his.
Yeah, for the cover, I am picking Justice League. I like.
All right,
I like
so
that one
we're
better.
Starting with a house divided right off the bat. If you guys have a favorite, we'd love to hear.
Gore is starting out saying that, and John is saying.
And I do think this is the strongest month of books covers we've had.
I agree with you. So
mostly because somebody told Stanley, "Hey, put less writing on the cover, but just a little bit less on the writing, not as much. You don't need as many words on the front."
Got a JLA vote.
Put that back. This is also the only raw. I was telling Ryan before we went live, of the first 4 books, it's the only one I have not in a slab. So that one I had to go dig out of the box.
Yeah, nice.
I will also say at this point, I'm still not in the Jack Kirby bandwagon. I don't know that he's hitting his stride yet, I don't know if this is the book to grade him on, if this was just the newest book he was doing and he was overworked. So far, I just don't know that he's crushing it yet. I'm a fan, but these 3 issues haven't proven it to me yet.
Okay. Hey,
Brian's in the
Brian.
chat.
Yeah, how are you doing?
So
Brian, right now we're doing who has the better cover?
Which book?
We got a lot of mixed reaction here.
So far, it looks like JLA's got 2 votes. Avengers has 1.
Avengers has 2 now. Yeah, so it's all tied up again.
Do you have a favorite of these 2 covers? Avengers issue 3, Justice League of America issue 3. It's on the thumbnail as well. If you check the thumbnail. But yeah, I do think we're finally getting some solid covers here, and I know next time we're going to get another round of good covers.
Yeah, we are for the next one.
So we're in a sweet spot, maybe a little bit here.
Yeah. We're in an uphill because those issue 2s. I wasn't happy with either one of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was the lesser of 2 evils. That one.
Exactly. So I think we're kind of staying tied on this right now.
Yeah, sounds like we're staying tied. If you haven't voted yet, you want to throw it in there, go ahead. If I have to pick, he's going Avengers.
Avengers. Okay. Then buy a Wasp hair. It is the Avengers tonight for cover. But we'll see if they can pull out the overall win, because that's what truly matters.
That's where you and the chat get to decide the overall victor of the evening, and we'll see if Avengers can finally eke out a win, or if Justice League continues its absolute crushing efforts here.
Yeah. So let's start. Let's move over into our next category and start talking about these stories. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Justice League story?
Yeah, so I'm going to present the Justice League story tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit. This is my first time reading these. So for me, I'm getting into and better understanding the format of what they were going for these issues. They're broken into chapters. So each of these issues, and I don't know how long this will continue, but each of these is a while. Okay. Each of these books is a 5-chapter story. You sort of get an introduction. Then you get 3 chapters in the middle where team members are splitting off to deal with various challenges. And then the final chapter, the team comes back together and usually defeats their foe. So this format is something that I'm kind of getting more accustomed to. So now here in this 3rd issue, I'm getting a better understanding of just kind of the style they were going for. And I don't know if this was common outside of the JLA, because there weren't a ton of team books at this time. So this may have been a style they were kind of inventing for this series. Is that
accurate? That's very accurate. Yeah, okay. Very accurate.
And it's not something that Marvel copied for Avengers, because Avengers doesn't follow that format, but it's very true to these.
Avengers has a format, but it's different.
Yes,
it definitely is different. And there's also a difference in the year too. Right now, our Justice League book is from 1961. Murphy Anderson did that cover. Gardner Fox is your writer, and Mike Sekowsky is the interior artist for this issue.
So the book starts off, they always give you that first splash page kind of like hint. This is what the book is about. We get a villain and he's controlling our heroes and loading them into the slave ship. But then we jump back in time and kind of catch up to that moment, right? We get a glimpse of all of the Justice League characters. And in each one of those cases, they're out solving crime, stopping villains, and their Justice League of America communicator, what do they call it? A
signal device.
Signaling device is failing. Something is going wrong, and each of these characters is recognizing, hey, my device is broken. I got to get back to the JLA base and get a replacement one. So we, the reader, are recognizing across the DC universe, something is afoot. And it's impacting all of our heroes and the signaling devices they've got. So we get a little glimpse of Flash. We get a little glimpse of Martian Manhunter. Aquaman and Wonder Woman get like a page. Batman gets a funny little panel in there. Even Snapper, Carr, who is our sort of reader surrogate character. He's the like human who is an honorary Justice League member. His device is failing while he's driving around. He's hot rodding around, and he decides he's going to book over there. So the whole team.
Can I say what he said?
One. Oh yeah, go ahead. What does he say?
He says, "Man, wouldn't you know it? I have a date with a slick chick, and my signal gimmick bugs out. Nothing to do but burn rubber for the secret pad."
Yes, he's always got that. I don't want to say hipster vibe, but he does have that beatnik maybe way of talking a little bit here. What's up, comic collectors in the chat?
Hey, Tim.
So yeah, everybody except one member shows up at the Justice League of America. I don't know if did they call it the Hall of Justice at this point?
No, it's a secret sanctuary. It's
Okay.
their cave, their secret sanctuary cave.
Superman is not there, and we find out a little bit later kind of what's going on, but he is MIA for the majority of the story. I think he only has like 2 panels almost in the whole book. But when they arrive, the trap is set, and they are all sort of caught by a villain named Kanjar, and he's from another planet, and he gives an epic monologue all about like his title on this other Earth and what he does there on this other planet and what his plan is. He needs the Justice League to do his dirty work. He's got 3 bad guys that are his problems on his Earth or his planet, and he wants the Justice League to capture all of them and bring them to him. He's like, take care of these guys for me. I can't take care of them myself. You guys are pretty amazing. I caught you by surprise. That's the only reason I caught you, but you can do this for me. And if they don't, he is basically freezing Earth. He's holding Earth hostage to force them to go do this. He also mentions, I'm going to lay a little trap in case Superman shows up late. Don't worry. I got a cloud of kryptonite gas. I can catch that guy too. I get him. Obviously the team members are like, I don't know what we can do. We're kind of stuck. We have to follow through on this plan. And that's the end of chapter 1. In chapters 2, 3, and 4, we get the journey of our team members as they are traveling to this other planet, these other places where these, I don't want to call them henchmen, these antagonists to Kanjar are living their best lives. But they all seem to be like ready for an attack. They all have like defense systems in place. They all are ready to receive whatever attack is coming because they know, I guess, Kanjar is going to do something horrible. So chapter 2 is basically a Martian Manhunter storyline. He is sent on. He's the only one going off on his own, and he's going to capture. I'm not even going to say the bad guy's name, but this guy. He's dealing with rockets, which have flame that can harm him. We know that's his weakness. And he's dealing with a fortress surrounded in flame, which of course is also his weakness. So how does Martian Manhunter work through this? He basically takes ore, crafts it into a tool, a spear. He uses it to throw with like a chain or whatever through the Citadel of Fire. It's magnetized so he can capture the villain and like reel him in. He fishes this guy out, is what he does, and succeeds. He has a complete success story. So yay, Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Anything you want us to add to chapter 2? Are we doing okay?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the heroes have this motivation to do this also because Kanjar has put the Earth citizens in like suspended. Yeah. And they can't be freed. And the way that he set this up so he doesn't get betrayed.
Oh, great. Yes, I need this. Yeah.
Yeah. So he doesn't get betrayed is he sets this up that all 3 of these have to speak his name at the exact same time. And that's the only way that Earth will get free from
the voice of
control.
The voice of each of these antagonist characters.
Yeah. So they have to capture the characters.
When they speak Kanjar, is it Roo? Like kangaroo?
It depends on who you ask. It depends on who you ask. So.
When they speak his name, kind of like Mr. Mixopolitic, when they speak it aloud together, simultaneously, all 3, it will somehow break the spell over Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah. And at the end of the Martian Manhunter, he does capture his guy, and he's waiting for the slave ship to come back and pick them up.
Yeah, because that's what that boat was in the cover. They're
Yep.
flying around the galaxy, kind of like collecting these minions, these villains, but apparently working in small groups. So he kind of like drops off Manhunter and then goes and drops off next Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and they are perfectly paired to deal with a planet with, of course, lots of water and a small, bit of land. So they're teaming up with their abilities to fight on land and fight on water. There's, tentacled creatures and manta rays and, all kinds of interesting things going on, including like these flowers that seem to be traumatizing Diana. She's got to fight emotionally with the words that are being screamed at her. She uses the lasso to escape. And in the end, Aquaman basically has to speak to the creatures in the water there and get them to help him stop this villainess, then enough so that Diana can lasso her and they capture her.
So they have succeeded in
2 for 2.
2 for 2. And they're waiting for the slave ship to come back and pick them up.
Yeah. Chapter 4, we get Hal Jordan and the Flash, Barry Allen, and they are going on to the next planet, which is sort of desert-like, rocky, and they're trying to catch their villain. There's like falling rocks and some kind of sonic vibrations happening. Something is messing with Hal's ring. He's having an issue. Wasn't there something that was like affecting his ring? Maybe I'm remembering from the beginning. No, yeah, it's the dust. Yeah. The villain kicks up this yellow dust and it clouds Hal's ring and he can't really stop it. And then the Flash has to basically create a cyclone to pull that dust away. And then Hal has his power again and he can create these bubbles that help our heroes, get into the villain's lair. Yeah. And they capture him. So I knew there was something with Hal's ring. There's always a glitch with technology in Hal's ring.
Yeah, they split up into teams and they always give him whatever assignment is going to involve yellow.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoever's got fire, that's where we send the Manhunter. Whatever the villain's got yellow. Yeah. But somehow Aquaman never goes somewhere where there's no water. That's the one that hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. They always seem to give Aquaman the water place. Yeah. That I find funny. Which takes us to chapter 5, right? The heroes are reunited. They've caught all 3 of these of Kanjaru's. I now want to say it like kangaroo. Kanjaru's minions and brought them before him. And Kanjar realizes that the Justice League has been playing him all along. And that what they've been doing is recording these minions' voices when they capture them. And every time one of them says Kanjaru, they've recorded it. So that now, when Kanjaru decides to double cross them, they're ready. And they play the words back off of their recorders simultaneously, setting Earth free. And now they've captured all of them. And more so, Manhunter has freed Superman from the kryptonite gas. And Superman, working with the rest of the Justice League, is basically able to capture Kanjaru and his 3 minion guys, his 3 nemesis, and send them off to, I can't remember where they end up going.
They went in orbit around something, yeah.
Yeah, he like takes meteorites and makes a world out of it, and then sends them off to deal with one another, mano a mano, and not force other people to clean up their messes.
Yeah.
And in the end, they all get back to the secret lair, okay? And Snapper Carr has basically been trying to release an album.
He said, well, you recorded the voices, so I recorded the story, man.
And he's going to drop a groovy album here at some point. And there you go.
So,
did I do all right? What do we need to add to that?
I don't know if there's a whole lot to add to it. In recap, a couple things that I want to say about this story, just in general.
Yeah.
So Aquaman gets captured, and first of all, they don't know where their target is going to be if she's going to be under the water or on the land. So Wonder Woman's doing the land, Aquaman's doing the water. He finds her right away. He doesn't tell Wonder Woman. He gets trapped and says, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. Still doesn't call Wonder Woman. I was sitting here reading the story and going, dude, you were our MVP last issue. What has happened to you?
Just nosedive, tanked it. Yeah.
And then the most interesting thing, and I had forgotten this. I had read this story when I first got my issue that I just showed you a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I had forgotten this part. So when they're recording the voices, everyone kind of has the same idea to record the voices. Smart idea, brilliant, great story plot on that. Wonder Woman uses the echo from the area she's at and contain the echo inside her bra. Essentially. They don't say bra, but that's what it was.
Sure.
That was a little weird. She opened up the eagle emblem.
Yeah.
And let me find that part. Where she opens up the eagle emblem to release the echo so they could have the word. And I just thought, well, that was really different. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people that keep stuff in there.
Well,
cell
there's
phones,
certain things you should keep in there, but
yeah, but I mean, well, yes, obviously, yes. There's a
hey, DJ Wise, thanks for stopping by. What did you think? Anything you wanted to add in it?
No, I think it was fun. I like this is the right amount of Snapper Carr in an issue. I feel like
it is.
I feel like they've used him to a better amount this time. A little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end. He's kind of like the punchline, and I love it. So this worked better for me as far as Snapper goes. I don't know that I like the Superman functionality. Like, I don't even know why I include Superman and Batman in this, because they really aren't needed, like, for the story. Martian Manhunter,
really no
yeah, most of the rest of the Justice League could have done all the things that they needed from him in this. Batman basically is useless. He doesn't even really show up for one panel. Like, it just seems silly, some of that. What's up, Copy?
Hey, Copy.
But I do like what this does continue to do is let those other characters shine, right? Mm-hmm. You give Manhunter, you give Hal, you give Flash chances to do stuff. Wonder Woman still gets a little bit to the side, but she's getting active more.
Yeah.
We're breaking that. Yeah, sorry, go
ahead. The Justice League portion of the review. So
we're doing the story for Justice League issue 3.
There's still many other things to vote on and an overall winner. So stick around, Rob, if you can. So I guess we'll move on over to Avengers then.
Yes, sir.
So we're at Avengers 3, and we're starting out with a big splash page, like the Justice League does, telling us what's coming. They make sure it's the Avengers meet Submariner. And then they put this little notation that says he doesn't come in till page 15. But when he does, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that was interesting.
They're just letting you know, don't get your hopes up. Submariner is not all through this book.
Yes.
He's just 15 and on.
Yeah. So our issue starts out, they're having their monthly meeting, and they're essentially talking about what happened at the end of last issue with Hulk kind of abandoning them.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need to go after him and see what's going on. And they're like, how can we find him? And Iron Man, who he makes sure to point out right away that they don't know that he's really Tony Stark, because they're meeting in Tony Stark's house.
They do this a lot.
Yes. 3 times in this issue, they point out the fact that they don't know that Iron Man is Tony Stark. 3 times in the same issue.
Yeah.
So this is the first. And he has invented this transistor-powered device it's an image projector.
Yeah.
So he's going to search for the Hulk, but he's going to go and ask some of the other Marvel characters if they have seen the Hulk. So he starts out by stopping by the Baxter building. And he sees the Thing, and Thing is like, hey, send us a letter, pal. I got a date tonight, and I ain't breaking it for no one. So he goes to talk to Reed and Johnny, and they're both very busy testing something. Like, yeah, we haven't seen him, and we really can't stop our project to help you look for him, so too bad. Yep. And Sue is like, well, I'm going to a fashion show. Now, at first, I was going to really ding her on that writing, like we have talked about. But at the same time, too, it's almost tit for tat, because Ben was leaving for a date. So that's kind of equal footing.
I agree.
So next thing you know, he leaves and he finds Spider-Man. And he's like, maybe he can help me. Have you seen the Hulk? And he's like, don't be afraid. I'm just trying to find the Hulk.
I want to. You read a great line from the last one. I want to read my favorite line in this issue, which is Spider-Man's retort.
Yes, do it.
Because this is perfectly commenting on Tony Stark's efforts here. Yeah. He says, "Look, do I tell you my troubles? I got my hands full right now. Why don't you try the Missing Persons Bureau?" Because it's a great point. Tony is basically like, I've invented this technology to help me find the Hulk. It'll just help me ask everybody else, where's the Hulk?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know their phone numbers, so I will.
It's not a tool to help him find the Hulk. It's a tool to help him harass other heroes to ask them, where's the Hulk?
Yes. So he decides.
This was a great Silver Age comedy bit for me, these first few pages.
So he decides, well, I'm still not out of luck yet. I'm going to go and ask the X-Men.
That's what it is.
Yes. And the X-Men are in the middle of their Danger Room practice. And Professor X is miffed that it's being interrupted by this hologram. Let's be honest.
Everybody up to now, except maybe Sue, was miffed.
Yeah, they were. But Professor X seems really miffed.
Does he?
Yeah, I thought he did. So I like this where Iron Man says, sorry, sir, but this will only take a minute. If you happen to receive any word of the Hulk's whereabouts, I'd appreciate you contacting the Avengers. I took the liberty of barging in because the Angel had told me to contact you if I ever needed a favor. See, I myself thought that would be written a little bit better if Angel would have came in, who we know is there because they show him.
Yeah.
If he would have came in and said, oh, Professor X, I did tell him if he ever needed anything.
My bad. Yeah, none of that.
And Professor X is like, we shall notify you as you request if we hear anything. Now, this is still my training class. It's still in session. So thank you to leave in the same means that you arrived, which means don't let the doors hit you as you exit.
So I want to point something out, and I know it's early in the issue. A Stan Lee trope that clearly I've adopted because I've had coworkers edit my emails and tell me the same thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody speaks with a punctuation mark that's an exclamation mark.
They do.
There's almost never a sentence in these Stan Lee books with a period.
God, I never noticed that. But now
look
that you
how
said
many
that...
on every page end with an exclamation mark. My favorite one. My favorite one is you read that bit that Tony says where he's apologizing. Angel told me to pop in. Mm-hmm. I need help fighting the Hulk. Professor X's response is, I see. Mm-hmm. But it's not. It's, I see.
Yeah.
It's that needed an exclamation mark. The words are I and see, but it's got an exclamation mark. Everything has so much intensity. And I think that's where you were reading Xavier is mad, because every sentence out of the guy's mouth gets an exclamation mark.
True.
So I was dying reading this because it's like, it's constant. He doesn't use periods. He doesn't. Yeah. They're always exclamation marks.
Yeah.
It's just his style. It's Stan. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So he has no luck, and they say, well, we could try Rick Jones. Maybe he's probably on the ham radio. So let's try him.
Snapper, Carr, and Rick Jones. These are the kids, the young kids that know what's up.
Yeah. So Rick Jones is like, well, I haven't, but, if he's here, I have an idea where it could be. So he goes out to investigate. And he runs into a man and who says there's a big monster that's loose, and he knows it has to be the Hulk. And as he keeps moving on, he sees it's the Hulk, and the Hulk is reaching into this lake and ends up pulling out a vehicle. And Rick is trying to talk to him. Hey, it's me, it's Rick, And he's like, the police are going to come after you. You got to return to your cave. And Hulk is like, bah, why should I run? I've done nothing wrong. He's like, but people are scared of you and they panic and try to destroy what they fear. So Rick tags along as Hulk jumps and goes back into his cave. And he still doesn't see why he should be retreating. He could smash all the humans. And then he starts to stand in front of this strange ray machine, which was built by Bruce Banner, his alter ego. And the gamma rays turn him back into Bruce Banner. He's like, oh, the nightmare's over on myself again, and say, okay, you got to rest. And so Rick Jones sits down to rest himself. But what happens is he turns back into the Hulk, busts loose out of this cave, and he's stronger and wilder than ever. He's not listening. So Rick Jones runs back, gets on the ham radio, contacts them, and the Avengers hear this, who are all the way, like Rick Jones is in Nevada, and the Avengers are on the East Coast. And they hear this, and they're all in separate locations, as they point out once again that no one knows that Tony Stark is really Iron Man. Just as I don't know their secret identities, So they're all alerted, and they all take off on their own power, trying to make it out there. And Iron Man's the first one to arrive. Rick's trying to warn him. He doesn't know what he's being warned about when Hulk essentially just smashes him. And he didn't see a sucker punch. And those two battle, and Giant Man / Ant-Man, because he can shrink too, and the Wasp are the next ones to arrive. And as Hulk is wringing out these cactus needles to try to fire them almost as missiles against Iron Man, Wasp and
I'll show that one.
Yeah, Wasp and Giant Man are kind of getting caught in the crosshair a little bit.
So funny.
So to them, it's like massive, huge things coming at them.
Projectiles.
Yeah. And they end up dropping to the ground, and Hulk disappears into this endless stream, into a stream.
Yeah, somehow they've used ants to trap like a water hazard, and then catch Hulk in it.
Yeah, but it doesn't last long. Even Iron Man's got him turning upside down a little bit, but it's not really stopping him. Thor has just arrived on the scene as well, and Hulk's like, "If you want me, come and get me." And he hears a locomotion. Not everybody's doing a brand new dance now, but he hears this locomotive, and he goes after it, and the Avengers are in pursuit of him, and he like rips the caboose off and whips it at them. Luckily, the caboose was abandoned, they say, and they have a little bit of a battle on top of the train tracks. But Hulk reaches in, and inside is flour, and he grabs this flour, busts open the bags, which creates like the smoke screen that they can't see. And by the time that they get through this, he's gone. And the Avengers are like, oh.
Well, even better, like Giant Man gets crushed. His smashes into this train tunnel because he can't see the train tunnel coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what I think is unfair. Like, at this point, they've commented so many times that Hulk is just a mindless brute. He's an idiot. Mm-hmm. He outsmarts them like 5 times.
He does.
At the beginning of this issue, he's like, oh, I can't hurt Iron Man's suit. I'm going to make little projectiles and try to shoot them through his armor. He's like, oh, they're Giant Man now. He's coming to get me. I'm going to use flour and create a smoke screen. Like, he's not just punching them. Yeah. It's so often that we think of Hulk as this mindless punching machine. But here we've got like 4 examples of him thinking strategically and attacking with logic. And you're like, wait, what? Like Hulk is the only one like thinking through strategy here.
Yeah. So Hulk is hidden in the back of this dump truck, and the people that are in the dump truck don't even know it. He
hides himself so well that none of the Avengers can find him.
Yes. The dump truck dumps all its contents into the ocean, pollution much.
Yeah.
And Hulk is under there, and for a while, because they say like a whale, he must surface for air eventually, though. But it sounds like it's a good period of time before he does.
They say days.
Yes, days.
Days pass without him.
He's spotted by a boat, and they don't realize at first it's the Hulk until they get so close. Now we're on page 15 where Namor comes in. Supposedly he's supposed to come in with a bang, but to me with a wow or something.
He comes in with a like a Captain Morgan pose.
Yeah.
He's got one knee up. He's just kind of like, yeah, I'm Namor. I'm the best.
So he has watched what has gone on, and realizes that the Hulk is the means to an answer that he has, which is, if Hulk don't like the humans, I don't like the humans. I can use the Hulk to crush. Yeah. So he convinces, the two fight a little bit about who's stronger.
Always
for the moment, and he's like, hey, you're stronger on land, I'm stronger in the sea. Together we can defeat these people. And so Hulk decides teaming up with him is probably not a bad idea at all. But what they don't know, each other is thinking, I'm going to double cross the other one. Submariner's thinking that about Hulk. Hulk is thinking that about Submariner once they win.
I love that drawing too. That, I mean, I don't know if it's not my favorite, but this drawing where it's like Hulk in shadow, thinking the same thought that Namor is thinking about, like, you know, that guy's a bit of a problem. I'm gonna have to take him out later.
Yeah. So they decide the best place to do this would be something that would combine the land and the water. And there's like this little island, and Gibraltar. They send a message to the Avengers to meet them there. And they're like, this could be a trap. And when they get there, it's exactly a trap. And there's a missile that flies at them. And they realize that they're battling Namor and the Hulk at the same time. And, Thor throws the hammer. The hammer is ricocheting everywhere. They've taken Iron Man out with an emery dust pellet.
Just like Hal Jordan struggled with a golden powder. We've got a dust powder that basically freezes up the suit that Iron Man's using.
Yeah, Wasp has come in. She's so tiny that the Hulk doesn't even know that she's by him, but the motion of his hand creates like a tailwind that knocks her to the ground, and then she almost gets stepped on by Iron Man because he doesn't even know that she's down there. Yeah. So she's like, I need to get out of here, you know?
Yeah, that's this one right there. There's her. There she is under the foot of Iron Man. Right down there.
Yep. So, like I said, it's just the groups battling Namor and the Hulk, back and forth. And Hulk really is asserting his dominance over Thor, you know. He says, you're not talking to some weakling Thunder God. I'm still the Hulk and I can do anything. And he's trying to get the hammer, but he's unsuccessful.
Which I like that sequence because you've got Thor versus Namor and Hulk, and Thor is holding his own against both of them.
Yeah, he is.
He's basically wrestling, and these are, Kirby's doing some good work, classic Kirby, like Greco-Roman wrestling kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Thor is holding his own against both massively strong characters.
Yep.
Really great stuff.
But
for me, I mean, I was nerding on that a little bit.
Hulk all of a sudden realizes that he's changing back in to Bruce Banner. And he's like, no, I've become Banner again. But the others haven't seen this happen. So he hightails it out there. Namor doesn't. Namor just like, he's gone.
Nobody notices.
Where is he? I need him. Yeah, he's gone. And Namor does what he can to bust away from the Avengers at this point, although the Avengers are really starting to gain ground on him. Yeah. But because he's out of water. But what happens that's lucky for Namor is he gets pushed up against this wall, and behind the wall is a whole bunch of water. And when the water hits him, it energizes him with strength. And he realizes it's time to escape, and he jumps back into the ocean, and that's essentially how our story ends.
Yep.
So really quickly, some folks that have joined us recently. Hello to the Jackson Roy Kirk and Meow.
It's funny because he and Tony had the same comment there, Signature King.
Yes, and Signature King's here with us, and Carlito's here too.
They're like ready to vote. Yep. Everybody's in their camp.
Yes. So your thoughts on this story? Anything else that you hadn't mentioned, or?
I got more joy out of this issue than the previous two Avengers issues.
I really liked this story. I had never read it before.
Yeah, me neither.
But I really liked this story.
I think I had avoided it because I'm not a Namor fan. Mm-hmm. And I like the way he's used here. It reminds me of some of the early FF stuff that I liked with him. And it worked really, really well as far as like the typical Marvel, what's that line from, there's a Savage Dragon issue where Savage Dragon's fighting a character from Youngblood. And at the end, the guy's like, I just wanted to see if you were tough enough to join Youngblood. And Savage Dragon's like, he punches him out. And then he's like, what? They do it in Marvel all the time. Like it's a classic Marvel trope, right? The heroes fighting each other to see who's stronger.
Yeah.
Is what a lot of this issue is. But it's done interestingly enough. It's not just a slugfest for me, which I liked about it.
Yeah. So I like the fact, and they've done this before, this is part of the Marvel method, that they tie it into the other books. They tie it into the FF, to Spider-Man, to the X-Men. Yeah. I like that flows through there.
Yeah.
Some of the writing's a little choppy. It's not as bad. And when we get into the art section, I'll talk a little bit more in detail about my thoughts on the art. But I really warmed up to this issue more than I had the other two as well. I
100%.
really liked this story.
You're
like, I would reread this story.
Yes, and I actually did read this one several times for tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it was easily I was looking forward to the reread.
Yeah. So if you guys want to start dropping who had the better story, Justice League or Avengers, you can do that now. As for my pick, I'm going to say Avengers did.
And I am too, absolutely. And it's nothing against the JLA.
No, the JLA was good and fun.
It was very fun, but I think this was maybe, and it might just be like I tasted a couple of bites of something I didn't like, and then I got a bite of something I really did like, and now by proxy, it's like, oh wow, this is by comparison so much better.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the story a lot better, and this was, and like you said, the cameos very Avengers-y. The heroes fighting heroes, very Avengers-y, but it didn't fall into the trope to the extent that you're like, it's just a slugfest of I'm stronger, no, you're stronger, a punch, 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 punch kind of thing. It was more interesting than that.
It was. I just liked it. And like I said, with the Justice League was a good story too. And I remember back to our last episode, a great comment that was made. What would the kid at the time who bought it in that day think? And I think the kid at the time would have thought in each of these issues, they got really good stories. It's just that the Avengers one is a little bit stronger for me.
You're getting your money's worth either way, right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. But I felt like the Avengers book felt like a Marvel book. Like it was all encompassing, like you were saying, with all those cameos.
Yeah.
Totally. Awesome.
Yeah. So Tony's definitely saying Avengers. Anyone else want to chime in with who had the better story out of the two?
Yeah. Let us know. Do you feel like now that you've heard the story, the plot of these issues, or if you've read them, maybe you've read both of these and you're up, because I am Silver Age challenged. The part of the fun of doing this show with Ryan is being the chance to be able to go back and try to be that kid picking up these books and reading them, even though 47, not a kid anymore. It's the fun of it is like finding the 1960s version of John, what he would have thought of some of these books. And I think in both cases, I would have had just a blast reading these as a kid, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with so little Batman. Like, yay, everybody knows Batman. Get that guy out of here.
Exactly.
Awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit of art?
Yeah, let's jump into the art segment too. And since we're talking about the Avengers, I'll continue with that. I've gotten, I was pretty critical in the last Avengers issues. I don't know if I've warmed up or I've gotten used to the style, but even some of the stuff, like I remember in our last episode saying, well, Iron Man looks way too something just seems off. Whatever that was, I didn't feel that in this issue. It had really smoothed out for me. And I liked the art a lot better in this Avengers, but compared to the Justice League, I love the Justice League art. So it's a for sure Justice League win art-wise for me. Sure. But I didn't mind this Avengers art at all.
And I think we've been hard on Kirby, and I don't know if it's just I got thrown this new book and I'm trying to finish FF and I'm doing this other thing and I'm trying to do this, and maybe his workload was too high, but it didn't seem like top tier Kirby work in my opinion. But like to your point, it feels like maybe now here 3 months in, he's been able to manage the workload a little better and you're getting better stuff out of him, because I do feel like overall the panel quality has jumped significantly for me.
Yeah.
So if that's what you were getting at, I'm feeling the same way for sure.
My favorite panel for Avengers.
Yeah, let's pick one. Yeah, you want to do Avengers?
Was this where Thor is throwing the hammer and it's ricocheting everywhere? Yeah. I thought that was so cool, and that's I just haven't seen that a whole lot, at least depicted like that in a comic book, and I thought that was really cool.
Sure. I mean, obviously, I have to pick the X-Men, and sure. I love when Beast is jumping through the projected illusion of Tony Stark in the midst of the danger room. I got a kick out of seeing that. When I got to that panel, I was like, oh, this is funny. I like this. And the big feet flying at you. I thought that panel was a lot of fun. So for me, I was like, oh, look, everybody's here. Like everybody's made it. So that's a lot of fun. Well, hopefully, Copy, you feel like through this discussion, you at least have a little sense, because the JLA stuff is very new to me, and I had never read this Avengers issue. So for me, I'm trying to wrap my head around a lot of this stuff too, and it's kind of the fun of being able to do this Silver Age discussion.
Now, when it comes to the Justice League book for favorite panels,
yes,
I liked all of the panels.
I'm curious if we have the same one.
I bet we don't. I will almost 100% bet we don't.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, John and I really do not talk about these books at all ahead of time.
No.
We might just say the most dialogue we might have is I've read it or I haven't read it. That's about as far as we go.
Yeah.
I liked all of the panels where like they were jumping off the ship to go ahead to their mission. But the panel that I really liked the most, even over some of the Wonder Woman, and there was some great Wonder Woman, and
I almost picked that one where Wonder Woman is jumping out of the plane, the boat.
That was going to be my second pick.
That was my second pick.
That was my second pick too. And I have not picked a Wonder Woman panel yet, just for the record.
I'm picking a Wonder Woman one tonight.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm picking this.
Oh, fun.
I loved that. I don't know why, if it's the perspective or what, but you also get, it really shows off like Kanjaru's eyes look so bug-like.
And there's some good leading lines with the way the energy blasts are going.
Yes. Yeah. I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And that just really jumped out. A lot of things jumped out. And for art, it's definitely Justice League for me. But that was the panel that
for sure
jumped out.
I dig it. I'm going with this panel of Wonder Woman.
Is it the flowers?
No, yeah, it's all maybe it's a win for lettering, but the way in which she's like crumbling under the weight of all of these phrases kind of hitting on her, the emotional impact of that. It's this one right here. I thought was really beautiful and emotionally powerful, like really well done. And I turned to that panel and I was just like, oh, wow, I can see the impact on her, the way they framed it, the way she's posed, and then the lettering, all those different colors and fonts and things kind of like inundating her. I thought it was really well handled. And that lent weight to what she was dealing with. I thought that was really cool.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So out of the two stories, though, if you're going to pick art-wise,
this was the toughest category for me of the four, because I felt like they were finally on par for me as the reader first time through, but I'm giving the edge to Justice League. I feel like overall, across all the panels, there were panels in the Avengers issue where Hulk's hair was like green and it was not like the inking didn't seem right. Versus I didn't have any of those issues on the JLA book. So that was it was a minor edge, but I'm going to give it.
And Hulk wasn't so flathead Hulk.
No,
in this one either.
But
he was a little
weird.
more rounded.
It looked like, I would call it bald, patchy Hulk, because there were definitely look at this one. Like, why is the top of his head the same color as his arm? Like, why isn't it black? Why did his hair lose pigment? I don't know. And then that happens repeatedly through the book. It irked me enough that I was like, you know what? That little thing, those kinds of little things ultimately made the edge just enough over to the JLA book.
Yeah. Well, let's turn over to the MVP.
This is going to be a fun discussion.
You can kick it off for whatever book you want to kick it off.
I feel like we might have the same one for JLA, but the discussion is going to be more interesting on Avengers. I am picking Martian Manhunter for the JLA book, and let me tell you why I picked him. Whether you agree or don't agree.
Okay.
Firstly, I like the very first time we meet him, everybody's dealing with some kind of challenge, solving this or that. His is far more interesting. He saves an entire train from like wrecking into a gasoline canister truck, and he rescues them. Awesome. Then he is the only one that has to go on his own against one of these villains, and he has to battle fire twice. He has to basically do complete metallurgy to invent some kind of tool that he can then send in and reel this villain in. So all on his own, he does that. He's also the one that rescues Superman from the kryptonite gas while everybody else is like, who's Superman? Who cares? Like, he'll take care of it. For me, it's a repeated element of like ingenuity on his part that for me feels like he rose to the challenge.
I actually agree with you.
Yes, I do.
For all the points that you just said.
Okay, perfect.
There isn't like, it's not so much clear cut, I didn't think in that issue. But when you're looking for one, for all of the reasons that you mentioned, it's that guy.
Was there anybody that you felt like was right there with him or second on the list?
No.
Because for me, it was pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
He faced his own weakness with real definitive like courage, creativity.
But unfortunately, he has to do that in every issue.
I mean, really, it's a fact. He's getting good at it.
Yeah.
And he's on his own. Batman, who knows where that guy is? He's sleeping in the cave somewhere.
Yeah, he's sitting motionless. He doesn't leave a cave, apparently. He goes from one cave to the other.
I mean, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm good with saying Martian Manhunter on that.
Okay, perfect. Congratulations to, and I'm curious about this because I've always called him John Jones. But is it John Johns?
I believe it's John Johns, but his secret identity is John Jones.
Okay. Because I always assumed that it was John Jones. What's up, Charlie? Are you here to collect a cat?
Do you want a milk or a sandwich?
Replacing food
I'll
orders.
take a milk. Thank you. She's collecting the cat usually.
Okay.
So I felt like we were going to agree on that one.
Yeah.
Here's the tricky part. I've debated, and I want to hear your pick and your reasoning for the Avengers MVP because I went back and forth and ultimately changed my mind during this live stream on my pick.
Okay. So just keep in mind that the MVP could be anyone in that issue.
Truly.
Submariner.
Wow. That was not even in my top 3.
Really?
No.
I went Submariner on that because I didn't think once again that there was a clear cut. We've had some issues where there was a clear cut winner, or you could really make, even with my case with Aquaman last time. I mean, I kind of made the case for it and you agreed with me that, yeah. So I went Submariner because it's a constant plot.
Yeah.
He doesn't let the fact that he needs help get in the way of his ego. He still is he's almost as egotistical as Quicksilver. Yeah, you know, the question, which one is more? He might be more.
He might be more.
He's got this figured out, and
or at least he's earned it better.
And Hulk bailed on him, even though he had a good reason, but he didn't know it.
Yep.
And he also knew he was smart enough to bail when he needed to at the end of the issue. And I got this feeling we're not done with him yet. So that's to me that he just did a little bit more than everybody else seemed to do.
Sure.
That's why I went for him.
Yeah. So I debated for the longest time Iron Man versus Thor. And this felt like an Iron Man Thor discussion. The first half of the issue is Iron Man's got all these new inventions, and he's he's got magnetic repulsors, and he's got projectors, and he's got all these machines. And hey, we're using his home base, and don't tell anybody who I really am. And it felt like an Iron Man focused issue. And then the second half, after he got frozen in the dust, was a Thor issue, and the hammer, he was using it in creative ways, and he was the one that was like going toe to toe with both Submariner and the Hulk, and I was leaning towards him. And after all this debate, I realized what I liked about what Iron Man was having to deal with, and what I liked about what Thor was having to deal with, was how creative the Hulk was in this book. He's grabbing a cactus and blasting off all these like spines. He's taking bags of flour to make a smoke screen. He's hiding in a dump truck. he's not only getting turned into Bruce Banner, but then like doing the Uno reverse on it and being like, nope, you can't turn me into the puny Banner. I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm the Hulk again.
Yeah.
You
make a really good point on that.
I like how wise and creative and like intelligent Hulk comes off in this issue. So for me, while we were debating it, while you were reviewing it and reminding me, I was like, Hulk is great. And even Hulk is like, I don't trust this Submariner guy. I'm going to pound the snot out of him when he turns his back on me. The only problem Hulk has is the very end when he reverts. And for me, he reverts because he realizes he and Submariner together versus Thor is not enough. And his fragile ego is shattered. And he's like losing his ability because he's like, I'm not strong enough. And he reverts to Banner and then flees because he can't lift the hammer.
Yeah.
In that way, I felt like he became the MVP just through that banter with you and I.
Yeah, you know what? I can concede to that.
But overall,
so between the two greens,
I think it's a Manhunter win for me. I think as much as I loved what Hulk did here, it was so obviously a Manhunter victory on the other side with no weakness almost shown and all that ingenuity. I'm going to vote Manhunter, which leaves me 2-2 split tonight.
I'm good with saying it's Manhunter.
Okay.
Slightly. Slightly.
Strong green guys versus strong green guys.
Yeah. Going for the green.
There you go.
Okay. So for you awesome folks that have stayed with us, we're at the big part of the show right now. Who has won this? So
do you feel like there's an obvious winner? Do you feel like one of these is the superior book? Here's what I do though, by the way, when I'm split like this and I've got two in categories for each book, it almost always falls to story for me. And because art was so neck and neck, I would probably pick the Avengers book as my favorite of the two, but only barely because they're pretty evenly split. But story for me won, and art was so close. This was a very strong Avengers issue for me. But when that's what happened, what I do in my mind when I have a split decision.
Sure. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, from Raleigh, North Carolina. Thanks for stopping by.
What do you do when you've got a split decision where you're like, oh, cover and MVP went here, story and art went here, or whatever it is? When you feel like you've got a split 2-2, how do you break it down?
I mean, this show isn't so much about what is a key and what isn't a key.
Right.
But Kanjar becomes a major JLA villain, and that's his first appearance.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
He does become a major
before.
He does, and he also goes on to be a big problem. Are you familiar with Adam Strange?
Yes.
He becomes a big problem for Adam Strange.
In the silver, bronze, whatever?
Yeah, a little more late silver, early bronze. He becomes a big problem for Adam Strange.
Interesting. Okay.
But Kanjar is a classic JLA villain.
Nice.
And like I said, in the 261 issues, he comes up many times. But with that still having been said, there's something about the Justice. I mean, there's something about the Avengers story that just grabbed me a little bit more. And that's where I'm really leaning. Is
for you personally, yeah.
For me personally, is the Avengers story.
And that's what, and maybe it's just because I'm a story first, art second kind of.
Well, you
leader.
have to have a good story.
Well, I know
you could have the most amazing artwork, but with a horrible story, it doesn't mean anything.
And I used to think that way. And I heard a really great interview with a creator who I'm not a huge fan of, but he made some great points. And it's Todd McFarlane. And he basically said, and he was speaking from a business standpoint. He said, give me a book that's amazingly drawn and I can sell it. If you have a poorly drawn book with a great story, I'm going to struggle to sell that. And so for him, art comes first. And I respect that. I'm a story first guy, like it seems like you might be intimating. And when a story, when these books are tied, the big thing that matters most to me is what was the better story. But his point was it's hard to separate the art out of the story because it's how we tell it in comic books.
Yeah, it is.
And I thought that was an interesting point that I never considered as dramatically as when he laid it out.
See, if I was just flipping through a book just not to sit and read, it'd be that JLA all day.
Right.
Because
it would just pull you in, right?
But to sit down, and it's not that I dislike the JLA story. I didn't like the last JLA story. I didn't like that one at all.
But like we clearly both really enjoyed.
But I didn't like the last Avengers story either. So
so far we got one vote for Avengers from Tony. Yeah. If you're in the chat, you got to vote. You guys are deciding this.
Yeah, this is it. This is the last category.
You listened to some evidence. Now you get to tell us which was the better book.
Yeah. So, I think we're both leaning towards the Avengers right now as an overall winner. But you guys,
and Tony apparently,
and Tony. So,
I want to let people know that we're planning on our next episode in about 2 weeks. Yeah. On the 14th of August, we'll be discussing Avengers 4. Captain America joins the team.
And JLA 4. Green
Arrow joins the team. So we get new team members for both teams. Will they be the MVP? Will they go head to head in that discussion? You can vote. You're voting more on this show and how you felt about these stories based on what Ryan and I are sharing. Yep. So your vote matters a ton.
Yep.
I appreciate anybody who hangs out with us and wants to give their perception of what they gathered from this for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so on August 14th, in 2 weeks on my channel, we'll discuss Captain America. We'll discuss Green Arrow, these new teams that are forming, and you can be there for that. So this continues.
Yes.
What do you think about the story of Deadpool and Wolverine? Oh, I don't think we have time enough to get into that, KO Joe, but I appreciate the discussion because it was a very entertaining movie. And Ryan and I
loved it. Yeah, I saw it too.
We both really enjoyed it. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. And just on a little bit of a side note, since we went off on that tangent, and I'm going to talk about this on Instagram. How cool is it that this week, especially being a 50th anniversary of a very key Wolverine book, that Wolverine has this massive movie going on right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's really awesome that kind of happened and tied in together.
A little synergy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
No, that's fantastic. I agree. Well, we got a couple seconds left, but I think we're about ready to call it at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think we are.
Finally, maybe a W for the Avengers.
I think the W might go to the A.
There it is. Ryan, I want to say this is a lot of fun, and I appreciate. I know that we were both a little like, oh, that issue 2 was a bear.
Yeah,
we're getting through the doldrums here, but issue 3 was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some new blood joining these teams next time.
I think it's so weird that they both happens in issue 4.
Yeah,
they both get new members in issue 4, and even though these weren't, there's years differences between them, about 3 years
apart.
Yeah.
Tony, you win pride, you win personal joy. Yeah.
We gave him his prize already. I mean, he's drank so much he just forgot.
Yeah, you got an hour and 15 minutes of Ryan and I talking.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the real prize.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Avengers had their very first win.
Had to happen at some point, I'd hope.
Well, absolutely it did. And can they keep that momentum going? Like I said, I think this next one is really going to be fun.
It's going to be exciting
to look at. So be coming up August 14th on John's channel, the John's Comics with Kids channel. There's a link for that in the description to this video if you're not subscribed. Thank you to everyone who joined us in our live stream. Thank you if you watched on the rewind all the way to the end. We appreciate that too. And you're always welcome to leave your comments too on all of these categories and more. You can drop a comment in there too, because they do get read and enjoyed.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Well, John, my pleasure having another volume of JLA versus Avengers with you.
And I'm ready for more. I'm ready for it now. I got to get to dive into issue 4.
Awesome. Anything coming up on your channel you want to talk about before we let everyone go for tonight?
I'm on Justin No Good Comics channel tomorrow night. He wants to do a little Wolverine and Deadpool discussion. So
Oh, cool.
K Ojo, if you want to be over there on the No Good KNOW, I don't think I did W right. YouTube channel, No Good YouTube channel. You can then catch us live. We'll be discussing Deadpool and Wolverine. And then I'm hoping Friday or Saturday to be hanging out with my man Comic Chop News, Dan, as well, to hang out and chop up some stuff with him.
KNOW.
I'm trying to remember the sign language for W, but I did the other 3 letters. I can't remember it.
Congratulations, our winner, the Avengers. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you had a good time. We did have a great time hanging out with you, and look forward to doing it again in a couple weeks too. Until then, be awesome. And I'll remind you that my Fanboys Live and the Retro Review will be Sunday night. That's the next thing coming up on my YouTube channel, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central, with Signature King and Comic Food 2814. We're doing we did part 1 of a Black Adam review this past weekend, and we liked the story so much that we're wrapping up the story. It's a mini-series, and we're doing part 2 this upcoming. Hey, Shop, how you doing? We're just checking out for the night, but we're happy that you did stop by for a moment. Hope you can catch the rewind. So have a great rest of your night, great week, and thank you, Copy, for dropping that's what that wrench is for.
There it is. Yeah, so that Justin's channel tomorrow night.
Yeah. And what time is that?
I believe it's going to be the same time as this show, 9 o'clock Eastern.
Sounds good. I'll pop over there too tomorrow night. All right. You guys have a great night. Thanks again for joining us for JLA versus Avengers, issue 3. Bye.